There are few plants that can really match up to the flowering quality of Dipladenias. The fact is that you get the climbing ones, the bush ones, and what else can match up to that? Well, they're these guys, beautiful roses. Okay, don't shiver in your boots. They're pretty easy. Couple of things that you got to know. Let's get it right. First of all, they need 5 hours of sun, minimum, absolute minimum. Loads of sun. They can be in pots. They can be as ground covers. They can be back into your garden to create beautiful height. So let's talk about the different types. This guy over here is a typical what we call a Floribunda. Now, Floribunda basically means lots of flowers in a cluster. Okay, so can you see that here? There's the cluster. Perfect example. There's the stem and then comes out in a cluster and gives you loads and loads of flowers. This over here is very typical of what we call this type of rose. They don't get too big. They flower lots, but they're not ideal for picking. So depending on what you're wanting, if you're wanting loads and loads of color, then personally I would go with these. They're pretty tough and you get some wonderful colors. You can see, important about roses, green, healthy leaves. The healthier your leaves, the more flowers you're going to get because that's what determines them. So how do we look after them? This is what's most important. It's called deadheading. Get yourself a good pair of secateurs and you'll see as they're flowering, all right, this guy's nearly over. But he's still got probably another week to go. If we take a look at this baby over here, this is a perfect example of one of the Floribunda trusses, as we call them, that has just gone over. So this is how we treat it. We look at the leaves and we say, here's the first set, 1, 2, third set of leaves. Standard format. Take your pair of secateurs just above what we call the leaf node and cut it off. And that's simply how you look after a Floribunda. Let's take a look at a different type of rose and how you deal with that. So this is typical of the other type of rose that you get, which is called an HT or a hybrid tea. This is the typical romantic picking rose, the one that you want to get in big bunches. All right, so have a look at the plant. You can see much longer stems, all right, and a single flower at the top. Then you know it's an HT. They give you lots of height. You can see how tall this guy is. In the garden, they can get even that tall. So how do we treat this now that it's finished flowering? So you can see it's had a wonderful flush. Normally what you would do was as the rose is starting in bud, as it starts opening, then you would pick it and use it in the vase, use it at home. But if you've left it like this and they have gone off, how do we treat it? Slightly differently. You don't go down 1, 2, 3. You're going to go a bit further down. So, because ultimately we're wanting this length, this beautiful stem. All right. So, how do we go about it? Just go down, literally looking at your length. Find a good leaf. All right. In the leaf axil, secateurs in, same as we did before, and nice cut. Now, I want to show you over here. Take a close look. Do you see there? It's cut at an angle. That way it stops any disease because if you've got water sitting in a spot, it's going to cause rot. That's why we always cut it at a bit of an angle. So what happens in the interim, let's do the rest of these. There we go. That baby's over. There we go. There you have your rose bush being pruned and done. I like taking the petals, throwing them around because that acts as mulch. Remember, if your rose has any diseases on it, please don't use the leaves in the garden. Take those, rather put them in a plastic bag and get them taken away by your refuse removal people. Don't leave them lying around because that just helps to spread the diseases. So we've got the pruning. We know how to look after them. Let's now get to feeding, which is the most important. Really important with any roses, and in fact any plants in your garden, but roses in more particular, is all about the feeding. Healthy leaves mean lots of flowers, and really that's a general term that you can use for all your gardening plants. So how do we go about it? First of all, once a month you need to feed with a granular fertilizer that has the following numbers. Now look carefully, there's 315. What you want to know, and it doesn't really matter, is that what you're going to be using, but you want a big number here and you want a big number here. This promotes lots of foliage. The first number promotes foliage, green, nitrogen. You want nitrogen because that promotes the good leaves. And the end number produces flowers, potassium and strength. All right, so that's what you want to look at your fertilizer. So 315 or a 515. This is an organic-based fertilizer, fantastic. A handful around the base of the plant, 1 or 2 small handfuls will be more than enough. There we go. That's it. That's all you got to do. Once a month. Easy. That took me a few seconds. All right. So let's get that out the way. The next thing that we want to do is to encourage more feeding, more leaf growth, more flowers is by using a liquid plant food. Remember, with the liquid plant food, as you are watering, so the nutrients are taken up by the leaves. They're actually sucked into the leaves. So we take something like this, which is a rose food. 1 capful, that's it, into 5 liters of water. And you do this every 10 days. Good stirring. And the rest is like you would do normally in your garden. Give your roses a good watering. But you see, I'm actually doing it on the leaves as well. Folks, only do this early in the morning. You do not want to be placing any water on the leaves during midday, because that's when it actually burns them, because the little water droplets, take a look here, these little water droplets, you see that little guy there? It actually creates a magnifying glass, and burns the leaf. That's why you want to do this early in the morning. As you wake up, get out there, give your roses, they're good feeding. So we've really got it covered here. We've given them a 315 organic fertilizer at the base, not letting the fertilizer touch the stem of the rose, keep it away. Every 10 days, we've got a liquid plant food, a rose plant food that we're going to feed the plant with, and that is going to make sure that it's got all the growth that it needs. Last up, what if you have some hojos that are eating and chewing them because you get rose beetles? They're those yellow and black guys. And you know what? They only live on rose petals. Go figure. All right, we don't want them eating that. So get something like garden insects, which you can dilute into water. Spray it on your roses when you see these little guys. Also deal with aphids and any other creepy crawlies that might come along and decide to destroy your rose bushes. Other than that, that's all it is. It is a labor of love. That's what roses is. You really, if you want 1 or 2, just get into the motion. Make it like brushing your teeth, do it every morning, get in there and look after them well, because you will be handsomely rewarded when they do flower.